So today I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the 1.4 extender from Canon. If you've been following along on this channel, which is all about wildlife photography, you might know that I shoot the Canon 7D Mark II and my lens is the Canon 100-400 f4.5 to 5.6 Mark II. So let's just jump right into this. As I've said in one of my review videos before, I'm not that techie, so I'm just going to base this on my experiences, what I found to be disadvantages of using this extender and some of the good parts. Now the obvious good part is that it gives you that extra reach, and at my 400 or fully extended to 400, this becomes 560mm. Of course I have the crop sensor as well, 1.6 with the Canon 7D Mark II. Now let's go over some of the disadvantages that I found using this extender. So one of the ones right off the bat that you're probably all aware of is that you lose one stop of light. So at 400 with this lens, I usually have an f-stop of 5.6 when it's wide open. That now becomes f8. That becomes a little bit problematic in low light, and especially on dark winter days, just like I'm out here now. Next thing is that at 400, now at 400 or at 560mm, I'm not getting the sharpest of images because this is a very sharp lens, and you can see a review of this lens I've done before, and it is really sharp. It is a really good lens. Absolutely love it. When I'm using the extender though, and I'm all the way up at 560mm, I'm noticing a lack of sharpness. Now, of course there are other things that could affect that sharpness, but I keep seeing that again and again in my images, that I'm not getting as sharp as results as I would like. The second point about the sharpness is that I'm really struggling capturing action by using that. And I've tried now a couple of times using the extender, capturing birds in flight. I did one in a video where I was up in Moray, and I was photographing seabirds in flight. And again, at the video that I did only a couple of weeks ago, photographing red kites in flight, I started out using the extender, but I just wasn't happy with the results I was getting. So I took it off and I just waited for the birds to come a little bit closer before I took my images. Sharpness is a big disadvantage here, and you just got to know when to use this, and I would use it for more stationary, or not stationary, but slow moving subjects, you know, birds when you're trying to capture them on a branch, or you know, deers that are relatively still anyways. It's a good opportunity to use this. Now let's move on then to the focus, and the autofocus on this this setup it's not excellent anyways with the Canon 7D Mark II with the 100-400. I often find that you know, it's searching regularly, not always finding the subject. It's good, but it's not amazing. But with this extender, it drops even more, and is even more tricky to actually find what you're searching for. And that, again, with the birds in flight, that became extra hard to actually, you know, find the bird in flight, and then actually finding this focus, getting them to focus on the bird, and then take the shot. So that may have affected the sharpness for the fast-moving subjects as well. In a lot of situations, it's okay. It is fine to find in the focus, but especially in poor light or extreme contrasty conditions, that it will chase a little bit more, and it's a little bit harder for me to find the focus on the subject. Moving on with the focus, when you have this extender on, you're using the Canon 7D Mark II setup, you don't have all the focus points available to you. So you're actually limited to the one focus point in the middle, or the one in the middle with the surrounding around. So I think that's 5 kind of focus point. One in the middle extended with 4 around it. The focus point is limited to the middle, so you would have to you know, focus and then recompose if you want to get the composition right in the field. So for me, that's not really an issue, because I usually always just use the one point in the middle anyways, and very often the way I will approach it is that if it's a fast moving subject, or if it might move like a bird or something like that on a twig, right, right where I want it, I'll make sure that I get a shot, even if it's in the middle of my frame, and I'll just recompose in post. And then on the next shots, I'll try and focus on it and then recompose my shot to get more pixels and use the entire frame, so I don't have to crop in post. So that's not really an issue for me, but that means that, yeah, you can't use all the focus points that are there, and the ones you do use, they're limited to the middle part of the frame. So that's mainly the experience that I've had with it so far. Those are the disadvantages that I've found. Now, one added benefit of using it is, which one, well, I wasn't sure of at first. I had to take a couple of test shots, so we all know what affects depth of field, and that is distance to your subject, distance from the subject to the background, and the length of your telephoto matters, and also the lower the f-stop, the shallower depth of field. And if you have a shallow depth of field, so you get a nicer, softer background, more blurred out, and very often that's what I would like in the field. So obviously here you have longer lengths. You have 560mm, which will make it a shallow depth of field, but then you move up to f8, which will make it a wider depth of field again, if you follow me. I hope I'm saying this right. So I wasn't quite sure, would they cancel each other out, or would one of them have a shallow depth of field than the other? And I suppose you could use an app or something like that to find out which one has the shallow depth of field. But I was more interested in, I just was interested in seeing the background, and if it's a nicer, softer background, if you will. I won't take an image here now. I've done this, I did this the other day, and I was standing in the same spot, same as now, on the tripod, so I could take two shots right after each other, one with the extender and one without. And using the extender, so having the longer reach, but having f8 instead, still gave me a nicer background, a more, the focus was a little bit more blurred out and just slightly nicer. So that was one of the extra benefits that I found by using this, the extender. So in conclusion, I would like to say that I'm still happy that I got the extender, even though the disadvantages. I think the most important thing is finding out when you should be using the extender and when you should just leave it off. And my preferred way for that is approaching any situation, leaving the extender off unless I've already encountered that situation before, and I know that I'm going to want the extra reach, and I know that what the disadvantages are. But I know that I do know that I'm going to get a sharper image by leaving it off. So that will always be my preferred option. So one of the things, if you do get this extender, don't just leave it on your lens and camera all the time and never take it off, because you will lose image quality on it. I still think it's good enough to get, but just be aware that there are limiting factors. Now, I do also want to say that some people have pointed out that they've used this extender with the same setup that I have, well, with the Canon 7D anyways, and they also found they lost sharpness with it. But when they put it on their Canon 5D, can't remember exactly which one of them it was, which one of the models of the 5D it was, but it was a lot better results with it. So it really depends on your setup, and it might be a crop sensor thing, it might not be, I'm not sure. So best ask around first if you're wondering about your specific setup and your camera and your lens that you're going to use it with. And finally, I have also been asked if I've ever calibrated my lenses, and no, I haven't. I've been meaning to do it, but I just haven't had time now, and I haven't actually looked into it. I know I need to get some sort of device to do it, so I might do that, but that could also be another factor that could improve my results. And if somebody has done that and achieved better results using an extender, then please let us know in the comments, because it'll be useful for anybody else looking to maybe make this purchase. Yeah, like I said, the main disadvantages are lack of sharpness all the way fully extended, autofocus problematic picking up the subject, also lack of sharpness when photographing fast moving subjects, loss of light, you lose one stop, you're limited to f8, and the focus point is limited to the middle, and it's either limited to 1 or 5 and 5 points, so you can't have all the focus points in your frame. The focus point is also dependent on which model camera you have, so be aware of that. Look that up firsthand, because I think also there might be some camera models that won't even allow you to autofocus by using an extender. So these are important things to look up before you do purchase anything like this. That's it for this time. If you're new to the channel, my name is Espen, and this channel is all about wildlife photography. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week.